It's now time to focus on the Canadian grocery market. And we do that. We talk about the grocery trade report that is put out every month by Kevin Greer of Kevin Greer Market Analysis and Consulting. Joins us on the phone right now from Guelph, Ontario. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Hi, Sean. Good to be on Real Agriculture.
Hey, it's good to chat with you. I love talking about what's going on further downstream. We do all this work producing these crops and these products on the farm. It's nice to know what's going on a little bit further down the line here. So,
Yeah.
food inflation. Your July report just came out. What did you gather from that aspect?
Well, we give credit where credit is due. It's the Stats Can every month they put out the Consumer Price Index, and most of your listeners are aware of that, the CPI. And the CPI focuses on all goods and services that consumers produce, and you and I, like to talk about the food part of that. And the food part of that, the food purchased from stores in particular, was up about nearly 4%, and it's been up about that amount for most of this year so far, Sean, which is really surprising because it was almost non-existent a year or so ago, and we even had negative inflation in 2017. So, this is kind of starting to look like a trend of fairly steady food inflation at about that 3 to 4% mark, which is quite high by historical standards.
Now, what's the reason for that? Is it because of cost pressures on the grocers?
Well, one thing that does stand out, Sean, is fresh vegetables. Fresh vegetables have been increasing at double-digit rates, again, according to Stats Can, and this is at the grocery store. Double digits, meaning 10% or more for the last half year or so. And fresh vegetables are about 10% or so of the food basket, if memory serves. So fresh vegetables are important. So that's one thing. The other thing that we're noticing, though, Sean, is that the items in the middle of the store, the consumer packaged goods, have also been increasing fairly steadily as well. And those are the packaged goods, the large part, the cookies, all of that kind of stuff, jams, condiments. That's been increasing at about 2% or so, and that's kind of surprising too, because that had been zero or negative as well. So it's not just the fresh items, but it's also the packaged goods. So I guess that's a long way of saying, Sean, that it's kind of across the board now.
Would you include the proteins like pork and beef and poultry in that same? Are they experiencing the same thing?
Yep, they are about 4% on meat, according to Stats Can in June. So I do focus on one thing I like to focus on, though, again, is those consumer packaged goods, because to me that's a bellwether of competition. Because, like I say, there's only one way you can compete on Heinz ketchup. There's only one way you can compete on Oreos cookies, and that's on price, because it's the same whether it's a high-end store or a discount store. So I focus on those packaged goods, and like I say, they're increasing too, because meat and vegetables, sometimes they go up or down based on the weather or the commodity market. So that's a driver, yeah, but it's not necessarily a good indication of competition. So I'm looking at this from the perspective of competition, and it's kind of making me think that given the consumer packaged goods prices have been increasing, that maybe, just maybe, the competition at the grocery level is starting to ease up a little bit. In other words, they're stopping shooting themselves in the foot and maybe just looking a little bit increasing their margins.
Now, one of the things in terms of food distribution that you point out in this month's grocery trade report is that there's a rare development. While retail food sales and supermarket food sales were up 4%, the general merchandiser's food sales were only up 2%. What's going on here?
Yep. So again, it's StatsCan data, and we love to give StatsCan credit because they're very important. And StatsCan breaks out food sales by all of retail. In other words, all food channel, all retail, whether it's Canadian Tire, convenience stores, or whether it's Loblaw. And they break them down into food stores and general merchandisers and drugstores and a few others. The general merchandisers, Sean, again, are the Canadian Tires, the dollar stores, and, of course, Walmart and Costco. So general merchandisers, according to StatsCan, saw an increase of 2% of food sales. So their food sales at the general merchandisers, meaning Walmart and Costco, really, increased 2%. The grocery stores or the supermarkets increased 4%. Now you say, so what? Well, it's so what, because this is the first time in a long, long time that the supermarkets actually outpaced the general merchandisers. In other words, in the last 20 years, not 20, but maybe the last 10 or 15, it may be another quarter that the general merchandisers got outsold by on food. So in other words, the general merchandisers, meaning Walmart and Costco, have been gaining share from the supermarkets for a long time. So the first quarter of 2019, the supermarkets outpaced the general merchandisers, and so that's kind of like, wow, that really caught my attention, and obviously it caught yours too. That's interesting. Now, ask me whether or not that's a trend. I don't know. I really don't. It's too, one quarter does not a trend make, so I don't know where this is going. But I would suggest if the retailers continue to have higher prices, in other words, if inflation continues at retail, maybe they're going to give it back again to Walmart and Costco. You know what I mean? Like if they keep increasing prices, then maybe consumers are going to start going back again to Walmart and Costco like they didn't in that first quarter.
Yeah, if you've got a chart here, which is general merchandise share of total retail food sales quarterly from 2013 through 19. And like you said, there's some blips and dips, and the trend is definitely on the increase, even though we did have a down quarter.
Exactly. So again, if the supermarkets did outsell food in that first quarter, it's an eye opener. It gets your attention because it so rarely happens that the supermarkets outsell or out increase their food sales of the general merchandisers. So it's something to watch, but at the same time, it's still way too early to say that the share erosion is stopping.
Hey, I'm sure you've been following a little bit this fire in the U.S. at this Tyson plant. It makes up like 6% of the weekly kill in cattle. It's really thrown the markets for a bit of a loop this week. How does a fire like they destroy all the product, all the carcasses that were in the facility at the time? Tyson says they are going to be able to reallocate cattle that didn't enter the facility will be killed elsewhere in their system. How does that disrupt grocers' ability to do business and make sure that some of those shelves are not empty?
Well, that's Cattle Facts in the United States put out a little note earlier this week, or maybe over the weekend, saying that this was historic. In other words, this is a big deal. It's a 6,000 head plant per day. So yeah, you're asking a good question there, Sean. But at the same time, Tyson is in the business of serving their customers, and they're not going to want to lose customers because of this. So when they say that they're going to allocate, the cattle are going to get handled, I take them at their word. Nevertheless, it is something that is serious, and beef prices have skyrocketed already this week, which is something that typically happens. But I think that right now we're just easing through this kind of thing, so it's a little early to say that what's going to end up happening. But in my view is that things will calm down as people realize that they're going to get served, and that the big grocers are going to get served. Maybe some other smaller customers are going to get shorted, but for the most part, we're not going to see any change in our supermarket shelves on at all.
What are you expecting going forward in terms of grocery prices here in Canada? Are you expecting food inflation to continue to rise, or do you think we're going to stabilize here?
Are you talking on the beef side?
Or the basket of goods.
Yeah, well, the basket of goods, again, I think that there are two things that really matter in that basket of goods. Number one is the commodities, the commodity cost. We talked about vegetables, for example, fresh vegetables, skyrocketing, and they've been skyrocketing because of decreases in production in the United States for the most part. So commodities, whether it's cattle or whether it's lettuce, help to increase or decrease the inflation rate. But the other big important thing is competition. And the bellwether that I watch is those packaged goods, the ingredients that are packaged in the middle of the store. They have been increasing, and when they start increasing, it makes me kind of think, you know what, the grocers are easing back. They're not competing as hard against each other as they often do. So my view, Sean, is that I see this inflation continuing on because I think they're easing back on the competition. Plus, you've got commodity pressures as well.
Well, to give everybody an idea here, as Kevin mentioned, meat is up 4%. Processed meat is up about just 4.25. Eggs just under 4. Fresh fruit is about 3. Fresh vegetables up 17%.
Yep, and Sean, that's been going on. I mean, that's the highest we've seen in about 6 or 7 months. But like I say, it's been going for quite some time now.
Great stuff. Hey, Kevin, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Well, like I say, Sean, it's always good to be on Real Agriculture. Thank you.
I encourage everybody to check out the Grocery Trade Report that's put out every monthly by Kevin Greer. You can find it at kevingreer.com.